Hey everybody, my name's Sammy and welcome to my channel. So I'm so glad that you've joined me for today's practice. It's going to be a little bit of a busy one for the first 2/3. So we're moving through a couple of vinyasas to start with, and then we'll move on through a standing sequence and then finish up on the floor with a more yin focused practice. Okay. So as always, we want to honor how our body's feeling today. So listen to your body. If you need to take a little break or you want to stay a little longer in some of the poses, that's totally okay. I am going to use blocks with today's practice with some of the poses, particularly when it comes to the standing sequence. It starts with a balance. And I always feel a little bit kind of more safe if I've got blocks there, but this is entirely up to you whether you want to use them or not. So the first vinyasa that we're going to be doing is Surya Namaskar A, and I'm going to actually add a little variation to it so we can incorporate a bit more mobility, warm up the physical body, warm up our mind, and find some sense of connection with our breath as well. So if you're ready to go, let's begin. So we'll come to the top of our mat and find a state of steady balance, find some connection or anchoring of the feet to the floor, maybe the way that our hips are set over our ankles and under our shoulders. We can, find some sense of ease with our head on our neck, maybe bring the hands to our heart space. And while we're here, you might like to set a little intention or a goal for your practice today. Or you might just like to ride the wave of your practice and see what shows up, see how it goes. So from here, we're going to take a nice in-breath as we lift up through the heart and anchor down through the feet into Urdhva Hastasana. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to the right and press our right hand to the back of the mat. So really stretch through the fingers. Inhale, come to center. So full deep inward breath. Exhale, do the same with the left as we twist. Let's do that one more time. So inhale, come to center. Exhale, rotate to the right, push the palms away. Inhale, lift our heart to center. Exhale, twist to the left, and we can just gently gaze down our left arm. Inhale, lift to center. On the exhale, we're going to tip to the right here. So open up through the left side of our body. Inhale, come to center, and then do the same on the other side. So let's do one more of each. Inhale to center. Exhale to tip to open right down from heel to armpit to fingertip. Inhale, lift. Exhale, tip to the other way. Inhale, rise up, and then exhale, bring the arms down by our side in strong mountain pose, Tadasana. Then we're going to take a dip into the hips and come into our chair pose. So you just come as low that you feel that you can, handle for today. And exhale, we're going to come into forward fold. So let the head just relax, get a bit of length through the back of our neck. Rise up halfway, lift on your next inhale. And then on your exhale, we're going to bring the hands down on the mat, walk the feet back, and come into our plank. So whether you're on your feet or your knees is entirely up to you. I'm going to start my first sun salutation on my knees. So we'll take an extra breath here because we're not in any hurry, and think about lifting the upper back to the ceiling. Then when you're ready, on your next breath out, we'll slowly start to melt the body to the mat, all the way down. And on your breath in, you can lift the chest up, rise up into cobra, nice gentle back extension. And then on the exhale, we've got a couple of choices here. You can come into a puppy pose where you're extending the arms forward, lifting your hips up towards the back of the mat. Keep them nice and high. Or you might like to come into down dog as you lift the knees and send your hips high and out the back. Take as much of a bend in the knee as you need. On your next breath in, we're going to look towards our fingertips. We can walk, jog, or jump into forward fold. Rise up halfway lift using your hands on your shins or fingertips on the floor or even your blocks. Let your breath go as you let your head just hang here, gazing underneath. Dip into the hips, rise up through the arms as we come into chair pose, Utkatasana. And then exhale back into mountain. So let's just take a couple of breaths here, just to notice how that little flow has landed into our bodies. Lovely. So the next one we're going to be doing is Surya Namaskar B. All right. I kind of like when I'm teaching this in class, I kind of call it the roller coaster because you're kind of going down and up, down and up. So yeah, so it kind of feels like you're on a little bit of a movement ride here. So from here, let's again get ourselves into a nice, steady, equal balance state. Bring your hands to your heart. Take a nice inward breath as we root down through the feet, rise up through the heart space. Exhale, bring the hands either side of your body into Mountain Tadasana. Dip into the heels as we sink the hips down into chair pose, Utkatasana. And then fold the belly over the thighs as we come into forward fold. Take as much of a bend in the knee as you need. Rise up, halfway lift, hands on blocks or shins, long spine. And then on the exhale, we're going to pop our hands on the mat, walk the feet back behind us, coming into your plank, knees or toes. Okay, so from here, we can take an extra breath in here just to find a little bit more lift in the upper back to the ceiling. And then when you're ready, on your next breath out, let's lower the body all the way down. And then from here, you can come into your cobra, keep your elbows tucked, just lifting the chest. Or you might like to send your hands a little bit lower down the rib cage, lift your hips, rest on your hands and your toes into up dog. And then from here, we're going to curl over our toes into down dog. So take as much of a bend in the knee as you need, hips are high and out the back. We're going to look towards the top of our mat, pick up our right foot, send it to between my hands. Now, I always find I have to kind of pick my foot up with my hand with this one, but that's okay. So from here, we're going to let the left heel drop down, turn the left toes out, sweep the arms up, and come into your warrior one. So a little tuck of the tailbone. And then let's sweep the hand down, sandwich the right foot, bring the foot back, and come into our plank position. So wrists under shoulders and tuck your tailbone just a little bit here. Then we're going to melt the body down. So I'm going to see if I can keep my knees off the ground for this one. And then coming into your cobra or up dog. And then rolling over the toes, coming into your down dog. And then from here, we pick the left foot up and send that to the top of the mat. And then we can drop the right heel, turn the right toes down, and then sweep up, a little bit of a wobble there as we come into Warrior One, Virabhadrasana One. Then we can start to lower the hands down either side of the left foot. Take that left foot down, get into our strong plank, start to lower the body down, and then come into our last extension as we come into Cobra or Up Dog. And then roll over the toes as we come into our last down dog. And we're going to stop here for about 3 extra breaths. So you might like to pedal the feet out, maybe have a little sway of the hips here. Kind of make it your own Surya Namaskar B. One more breath. And then when you're ready, come to stillness. Our heads between our arms, tailbone up. And then when you're ready, you're going to look towards the top of the mat. You're going to get bendy in the knees and walk, joggle, jump to the top into forward fold. Rise up, halfway lift. Let the belly melt forward over the thighs. Come back into your forward fold. Dip into your hips, rise up into your chair pose. And then exhale into mountain. So let's just stop here for a good, let's say 4 breaths here, because that was quite a dynamic flow. I'm kind of breathing heavy here. So let's just take a little breath here or 2. No need to rush. Maybe show a little gratitude to ourselves for moving our body into those shapes. And then we're going to move on to some standing poses. So we're starting with a balance for the first pose. I'm going to use my bricks to help give me stability. My balance isn't great, and I kind of like having something there that I can catch. Generally with Warrior 3, which is what we're doing, you would extend both arms out and extend the leg out the back. But you know what? I want to feel nice and stable with this. So, yeah, grab anything for support. Maybe even if you have a chair handy, you could grab for that as well. Yeah. So, coming to the top of our mat, we're going to start balancing on our left foot. So we're going to lift up the right foot just slightly and then take your time to hinge that right foot back. Whoops. Like I said, my balance isn't great, but that's all right. That's where we practice. This is all about tapas, discipline and practice. So from here, I'm thinking about pointing my right knee and hip down to the mat so I'm not turning my hip joint out. And just a light grip on the block so I can conserve my energy for my left leg. So let's see if we can distribute that weight evenly through the left leg. Maybe relax the left knee a little bit. Soften our gaze. We're going to take a few more breaths here. We're not after perfection. Just want to enjoy the journey. And then from here, we'll slowly start to lower that right foot as we get ready for high lunge. So, if you need to widen your feet a little bit for stability, that's okay. We'll lift the arms up, little wobble there. And then when we're ready, we can bend both knees back and front and come into high lunge. And I've brought my arms into cactus here. So thinking about drawing the shoulder blades together and down the spine, and a little tuck of the tailbone. So I can definitely feel my legs working. They're a bit wobbly, but that's okay. Let's take another big, beautiful round of breath here. And then when you're ready, we can take a deep inhale, straighten our legs, and turn out the left or the right toes and land the right heel. So from here, we're coming into Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. So keep breathing your breath as we hinge forward. Our arms are extended in front of us, and we're actually going to add a little pause here, okay? So we'll reach the fingertips towards the front, the hips towards the back. Very strong pose, this one. And then from here, we can start to melt our left rib cage over our left thigh. Let the head dangle. You could catch your bricks with this one too if you wanted to. Whatever's available. Taking a few more breaths here. And then from here, we're going to lift our gaze, rise up, take a little bend into that left knee. And then we're coming into warrior one. So keep my right heel down. Again, a little tuck of the tailbone and lift the heart up as we bend into that left knee. Just one more cycle of breath here. And then let's give our arms a little break. So from here, we're going to be actually moving our feet a little bit. We need to bring the right heel roughly in line with the left heel, thereabouts, as we move into Trikonasana. So I'm going to pick up my back foot, and the edge of my back foot is parallel to the short edge of the mat, and my toes are pointing the other direction. So I have a little right angles here. So be okay to shuffle around till you find a place of stability and steadiness. So from here, we can take a nice big breath in, let it go, come to parallel. Keep breathing your breath as you kick the right hip a little bit out to the back, reach forward a little bit more with your left hand, and then we can spiral into our Trikonasana or triangle pose. And you can catch whatever's handy for you, whether it be bricks or legs or ankles if you get down to there. So yeah, we just want to keep a nice open space at the front and back part of our body here. When you're ready, we can gaze at our left big toe, and then we're going to reverse this. So we're opening up through the left side of our body. Let our right arm relax. So kind of save all the energy for the leg work and let the right arm have a little rest here. Take a nice in breath as you open a little bit more through the left side of your rib cage. And then on your breath out, take a bend into that left knee, spiral over as we come into side angle. So, you can play with what you want to do with your right arm. You can add a little movement here. Or you can just let your hand land to wherever's comfortable for your shoulder. Gazing at your left big toe. When you're ready, on your next in-breath, we're going to keep the bend in our left knee and reverse our warrior two. So again, opening up through the left side of the body, but we have that knee bend this time. Just trying to find that connection to the breath. Relaxing our gaze, our jaw. On your next in-breath, we're going to spiral the arms, keep the bend in the left knee, come into warrior two. Take an exhale. When you're ready, on your in-breath, let's shrug the shoulders up to the ears and then breathe out, roll the shoulder blades back and down. So a lot of muscles are tense here. I can feel it in my legs, my trunk, my back, and even my arms. So let's invite some softness somewhere. Maybe our gaze or our breath as we exhale down our left arm. And then from here, we're going to give our left leg a bit of a break as we take it, straighten it up. And then we're going to turn our left foot in. So we're coming into a wide-legged forward fold. So maybe getting a little pigeon-toed here would be okay as well. So pop the hands on your hips. Give the arms a little rest as well. So take an inhale, find length through your spine. Soften your knees, and we're going to exhale, fold forward. Let's stop halfway. So once we've hit the halfway mark, we can just gaze straight down, draw the elbows back slightly, lift the tailbone, and think about pushing not only through the front and back of our feet, but also the inner and outer part of our feet. Let's get some steadiness to that breath. And then taking a nice big in-breath. Release the arms, let it go. Let's come into wide-legged forward fold. So relaxing the head, gazing underneath us, shining the crown of our head to the floor. Melting into this wide-legged forward fold. When you're ready, we're going to lift our gaze and come on up. Now, I'm actually going to grab my bricks before I come up and take them to the other side here. So we're going to rise up. And then from here, we're going to do everything in reverse. So we're going to turn the right foot to the top of the mat, keep the left foot the way it is, and come into our warrior two. Okay. So once we've kind of bent in that right knee and we feel nice and stable in our stance, let's take a breath in and shrug the shoulders up to the ears, and then exhale, roll the shoulder blades back and down. So we're shining our heart forward and then gently gazing down our right arm. And this side might feel completely different to the other side when you did your warrior two, and that's really normal. When you're ready, we're going to reverse our warrior two by flipping the right palm up and tipping away from our right knee. Just letting that left arm relax. Keep pushing through the whole of your feet. Nice in-breath to get a little bit more space through the right side of your rib cage. And then when you're ready, release your breath coming into side angle. And again, play with that left arm. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to add movement? Or do you want to add stillness? When you're ready, gazing at your right big toe, we're going to keep the bend in, we're going to straighten the leg, and go into a reverse triangle. Opening up through the right side of our body, get a bit more hip opening here. Relaxing our gaze. Take a nice in-breath as we open a little bit more through the right side of our body. And then we're coming into our triangle. So parallel the arms, kick the left hip to the back of the mat just a little bit. Reach forward with our right hand just a little bit, and then start to hinge into our triangle. Now I can get a little bit further on this side. So that's funny how the body works sometimes. Okay, let's do one more full in-breath. Exhale, maybe get a little deeper if your body wants to. And then from here, we'll spiral up. Now, this is where we're going to be kind of moving the feet a little bit as we come into warrior one. So take a little bend in that right knee, kick out your left foot to the side of your mat. So our left ankle's turned out a little bit. We're going to take that bend into that right knee, tuck your tailbone, lift your heart forward and up. Virabhadrasana 1. Keep connecting with your breath, slow, steady, smooth inhales and exhales. And then when you're ready, we straighten out that right leg once again, and we're hinging forward as we come into our pyramid pose. So take as much of a bend in the right knee as your hamstring needs. Just a few more breaths here, not long. And then when you're ready, let's melt the right rib cage all the way down and over our right leg. Let the head be heavy. Soften the shoulders away from your ears. And then when you're ready, we're going to lift our gaze, take that bend into that right knee again, pick up the left heel, and we're on the ball of our left foot, lift up, and we're coming into high lunge with our little cactus arm. So draw the shoulder blades back and down, spread the fingers, lots of muscles working here. So let's just relax the notch at our throat, invite smoothness in the space between our eyebrows. Just a few more breaths here. And then from here, we're going to rise up onto our right foot and then finish off with our warrior 3. My right leg is wobbly. I'm actually going to have to move down a little bit here. Okay, this is our last pose for standing. So let's extend our left foot out the back. Think about the weight through the right foot. Maybe relax the right knee a little bit. And make sure that our left knee and hip are pointed down to the floor, that we're not turning the left hip out. And let's just keep breathing our breath. Doing the best that we can. Not being hard on ourselves if we're feeling a little tired. This is quite a vigorous sequence, this one. And then when you're ready, slowly lower that left foot down by your right, maybe a little bit wider than your hip. I'm going to have my bricks handy, and then let's get into a really bendy forward fold here. If you want to add a little shaking of the hips side to side, even through the head and neck. And when you're ready, we're going to come to stillness. Bend into those knees, walk the feet back. And we're coming into the yin part of our practice. So these poses are held for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. We need a bit of settling time, so I'll allow about 5 to 10 breaths for you to settle into the pose. I'll add some cues as well, so that might help to, enhance your pose. We want to also spend some time in stillness. So during that minute and a half, 2 minutes, we want to be totally settled and still as much as we can, okay? So from here, I'm going to actually use blanket to help with some of the poses. The first one we're coming into is a gentle back extension called Sphinx pose. And I find if I have support between my chest and my belly, it just takes the pressure off my lower back. So, you could use a towel or cushions off the couch or pillow, whatever, okay? If you're particularly sensitive in the lower back. So I'm going to pop that down. All right, so it's kind of resting there. I can feel that already. It feels very nice. And then first way we can do this is take our feet a little bit wider than usual, then hip width apart. That might take the pressure off the lower back. With your elbows, you can start with them under your shoulders. And if it's just a little too much for your lumbar spine, bring the elbows slightly forward. We want the arms to be heavy, the hips, so give them a little wiggle here to help them settle. And then our neck position. So have a little bit of a explore about where you want your gaze. We want a comfortable length to both the front and back of our neck. So once, you've sorted out where you would like to, cast your gaze or even shut your eyes, allow a gentle sinking of the neck into the shoulder blades or into the shoulders. So once you're settled, we're going to begin. So let's take a few more breaths here just to get into a position that feels good in our body. And then let's invite stillness. Allow the breath to relax our muscles and open up the spaces in the joints. And I'll gently ease you out into the next pose in just a little while. So let's start to get ready to move on to our next pose. We'll finish this one off with a few more breaths. And then from here, before we do roll onto our backs, we'll lower down our chest. We can rest the back of our head onto the back of our hands and take a few moments in stillness here on our rebound. And then from here, start to roll onto our backs. All right, so the next one we're coming into is lying butterflies, Supta Baddha Konasana. So I'm going to take off my little clips here. Okay, so take up space on your mat with your knees bent. And again, I'm going to add my blanket as my little prop. So from here, we have our knees bent, and we're going to bring our feet together and open up through the knees. But I want to open up a little bit more through the hips because I find they get quite tight. So I'm going to grab my blanket, lift up my hips. And again, you could do this with your cushion or rolled up towel. And then when you're ready, gently start to open the knees away from each other. You can play with how far your feet are from your hips. So you might find it's more comfortable bringing the feet towards the end of your mat. And then also explore where you might like to put your hands. So I'm actually going to bring them on my heart and my belly. So this is going to allow me to help. I think it's going to help me settle in as I feel the breath move through my body. A bit more sensory awareness here. But you just put your arms wherever they're comfortable for you. And then we'll give you a couple more breaths to help settle yourself in. And then once again, I'll gently lead you out of this pose in a couple of minutes. Before we start to move our amazing bodies, let's take a few more breaths here in our lying butterfly. And then from here, we'll give our hips a little assistance by bringing the hands to the outside of our thighs. Gently bring our knees together. Now, before we jump into a spinal twist, let's take the feet apart just a little bit and rest the inside of our knees against each other. And just take a few moments of stillness here, just to allow that lying butterfly to land. And then when you're ready, bring the feet about hip width apart. I'm just going to take my blanket out. And we're coming into our twist. So just move that up there. All right, so arms slightly away from the body. And let's bring the knees over to one side. So I'm going to take mine over to the right. And once they've landed, you can have a little play with what sort of things you want to do with your setup. So you might like to stack your hip underneath each other. We want to keep the shoulder blades gently anchored to the floor. Okay, so this will allow the chest to remain open. So another thing you can do is gaze down the opposite arm. So if your knees are bent to the right, you might like to look down towards the left, or you can shut your eyes. So again, we want this to be passive with minimal effort. So once you've had a little bit of a play around with your twist position, take a few more breaths to settle in. And then once again, I'll gently guide you out of our spinal twist in a couple of minutes. And then without hurrying, just take those few last breaths before we start to change sides. And then in your own time, lift the knees to center. Come onto your back. Again, we can add a little movement break here, actually, just swaying the knees from side to side. And then when you're ready, in your own time, allow both knees to fall over to the other side. Again, you've got that stacking of hips, gently melting the shoulders and the arms into the ground. Maybe gaze in the opposite way that your knees are. And then again, I'll gently draw you out of this twist in a few moments or in a couple of minutes. Just taking those last few breaths before we start to release from our twist. And then when you're ready, lift up your knees, come back to center. And then from here, we're going to do a couple of squeeze and releases, and that might help you to settle into your Shavasana. So picking the feet off the floor, taking your knees to your chest as much as you can. You can even roll the shoulder blades off the ground. And then we're going to inhale, lengthen our body. So stretch our arms and legs as much as you can. Exhale, squeeze the breath out of your body. Inhale, lengthen, take your time, stretch, and exhale, squeeze the breath out of your body. Last one, inhale, lengthen, reach as much as you can, and exhale, let it go. And then keep breathing your breath as you lower your feet down, your upper back, and then I invite you to come into a position, a posture, what feels good for your body right now. Okay, so it might be quite different than the last time when you did yoga. So we need to just make sure we listen to our body. So I'm going to actually grab this blanket and pop it under my knees, because I find if I have my legs completely straight, my back doesn't like that. So take up space on your mat or wherever you're doing this practice. Maybe some deep releasing breaths might help you to relax a little bit here. Sighing the breath out. And acknowledging any thoughts or feelings or worries that might be floating around in your mind. It's perfectly normal to expect ourselves to just totally relax in the mind straight away. Is a bit too much sometimes to expect. But we can just, try and see if we can not let them anchor us, our thoughts and feelings. So if we keep focusing on how we're breathing, maybe again, bring your hands to your body, feeling the breath move through your torso. Might help you to find a sense of focus and inner awareness. So we're going to be here for a couple of minutes. And then again, I'll gently draw you out of this when we come towards the end. And then taking your time to introduce some gentle movements back to the body, maybe wiggling toes and fingers, curling through the ankles and wrists, or bringing in a stretch, a deepening of the breath. And then we can roll over to one side. Again, letting go of the need to rush through this, taking a few breaths here lying on our side. And then when you're ready, gently bringing yourself up to a comfortable seated position. I'm going to grab my little blanket to sit on. Okay, so yes, make sure that you're feeling comfortable in your seat. And then from here, I'd love for you to join me in closing this evening's practice or today's practice whenever you're doing it. So let's bring your hand to your heart with a gentle bow as we thank our beautiful and incredible bodies for moving and for being still, for our breaths for nourishing us, and for our minds for guiding and supporting us. Thank you so much once again for joining me for today's practice, and the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. So, if you enjoyed today, I would love for you to subscribe, share with your friends, family members, like do all those YouTubey things. Other than that, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye.